What up, what up, what up? You are now tuned in to That's Fire. It is a podcast by your boy Quam Teasy, where we talk about everything from politics to pop culture, but the positive, godly spin on everything. We are going to find out the positive in every situation. You know, the verse that, we live by here on That's Fire is Philippians 4:8. Finally, brothers, whatever is true, whatever is honorable, whatever is just, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, whatever is commendable, if there's anything excellent, if there's anything worthy of praise, think about these things. You know the deal. So we talk about everything from under the sun, but we want to find out what's good about it. What is God saying about it? We are glass half full over this side of things. That's fire. So we want you to get used to that. That's fire. Thank you for showing up and listening to the podcast, for downloading it, spreading it around. If you have not done so, please get on the deal and do it. Please go ahead and download. Please go ahead and follow. It helps us out so much. It makes me feel so good that you would even listen to what I got to say. This Gen X big bro, whatever I got to say, that you would, be cool enough to want to hear what I got to say. This is episode number 3. And this episode, we talking about the most dangerous feeling that one can have. The most dangerous thing that one can have. And I want you to hang around to the end of the episode, to the second half, because I got some advice for you that I've been given, some instructions on how to be successful in this life, no matter what, in spite of the most dangerous, or even because of the most dangerous feeling that we're going to talk about, especially you creative, Christian creative remnant that are out there. I'm talking to y'all, you creatives, but everybody's creative. Everybody is, can listen to this podcast and hear what it has to say. So once again, thank you so much for showing up. I'm not going to hold y'all too long, but I want to talk about this. This is the most dangerous thing that we face, that can either make or break you. Depending on how you handle this thing that I'm going to talk about, can make or break you in every aspect of life. I don't care if you are 5. I don't care if you are 50. I don't care if you are 105. The way you handle this particular thing I'm going to talk about will determine how your life goes. Excuse me. And by the way, y'all, I'm still kind of dealing with a little bit leftover, cold, whatever. My voice was gone for a couple weeks, actually. And if y'all know me, that's really hard because I like to talk. So anyway, thank y'all for showing up, and we're going to jump right into it. So right now in our world, in America, we got, we're still dealing with these wildfires in California, which is devastating and crazy. We have a president-elect that is just about to be inaugurated, and a lot of crazy things are happening around that. Right now, what's going on is the confirmation hearings of President-elect Donald Trump, his nominees, right? If y'all don't know what that is, it's, the president gets voted in, and he gets to appoint all the people that he wants to be in his cabinet, but the government has to approve them, and they got to vote for them. And how that happens is they bring each one of them before the Congress, the Senate, whatever, and they grill them with questions, and they basically like it's an interview. And usually if one side, like the Republicans have their nominees come in, then the Democrats they're gonna grill them and try to make them look stupid and try to, make them seem like they're not fit for the job, and vice versa. It happens with if a Democrat gets in office, right? But these confirmation hearings are going on. All the while, we have newsworthy things that are happening across the world. Just recently, I think it was today or yesterday, Hamas and Israel come to and agree on a deal, a ceasefire agreement. Now, there's a lot of, up and down about it. So a lot of people think we didn't get enough for it. A lot of people think we sold the farm to get these hostages out. A lot of people are saying that this was due to Joe Biden. Some people are saying it's due to Donald Trump. This plan was first put forth back in May, and it's just now happening. And it's just kind of ironic to me that it's happening right before DJT gets in office. And there's a lot of things that are happening, a lot of changes that are being made, a lot of changes that are being put forth. These confirmation hearings are going on, and a lot of the people that someone like Donald Trump has picked are not the typical picks that people would think. They're not the people that have, the rote experience that others think that they should have. However, what they do have is a desire to see things get done. They have been very accomplished in their areas, and they're not afraid of a fight, right? And people are indulging in this most dangerous thing that want to talk about. And I'm going to tell you the reason why. This most dangerous thing that can be extremely positive or negative is a 4-letter word: hope. That's right. The word hope can be very dangerous. Now, who it's dangerous for will depend on what you put your hope in, right? So the reason why we're seeing a lot of this stuff happen is because people overwhelmingly voted in Donald Trump for president. Why did they do that? Well, partially because they couldn't stand what Joe Biden was doing or what he's done to the country, what they believe he's done to the country. But that has, sparked the feeling of hope in seeing and hearing what Donald Trump is proposing and has been proposing. And he reached into something visceral in people, promising a resurgence of America, right? And so you had a lot of people who wouldn't have never voted for Donald Trump, who are looking at their lives over the past 4 years, and while one side is telling them that everything's peachy keen and everything's great and the economy's great and this is great and we're doing a great job, reality is telling everybody else that that's not true, that inflation is crazy. And then you hear them go make all these accusations, and they try so hard throughout literally like the last 9 years to put Donald Trump in jail, while Donald Trump and people like him are pumping in, it can be better, it can be better, it can be better. If you vote us in and let us do our job, it can be better. And after a while, people are looking at one side and they're looking at the possibility of the other side, and they lose hope in this side and gain hope in the other side. And so that feeling of hope can be very dangerous. Very dangerous for depending on which side you put your hope in. So the confirmation hearings, the reason why I'm linking these together is because people are willing to get behind this new atmosphere, this new feeling, new people, new ways of picking people for jobs, because they have hope. They have hope in the future now. They believe and hope that Pete Hegseth, although he's not commanded, millions or whatever, that he has enough experience and enough, willingness to fight and hope himself to be able to put, things first, put America first, and put people's desires and put the military's needs first over what has been served up to the American people for such a long time, right? For the last couple of years. So how hope can be destructive is if people or you put your hope in something that lets you down or lets down that hope over and over and over and over again. And what that does, and you guys can agree or not agree, put your comments in the comment section and tell me what you think. But if you put your hope in something over and over and over again and it keeps getting let down, then you are going to be at the very least jaded, but at the very most very pissed off and angry, right? Because your hope has been deferred. The Bible talks about this. The Bible says hope deferred makes the heart sick. And hope can be said as being like the embryo of faith. And the Bible says that faith without faith, it's impossible to please God. So hope is something that is very important, but can be dangerous because it can turn somebody, if it's deferred, if it's let down, it can turn people into very violent, evil, mean people and do things because their hope was dashed. They put their hope in things that was dashed. And the reason why it's dangerous to do that because most people put their hope in something that is not lasting. It's foolish to put your hope in something that doesn't last because or that has the ability to change, right? And so people put their hope in the words that Donald Trump and his people have said, the people on Capitol Hill when they're going through the confirmations. A lot of people are very excited and they feel like they are standing up to the Congress that are asking them these crazy questions. The things that they're saying and answering these questions are giving people even more hope. You know what I mean? And even to the point where like a whole nother subject that may not even seem like it matches, but you know, you got TikTok going on right now. You got the TikTok ban close to happening in a couple of days. I think it's Friday that it's supposed to happen. And on TikTok, people gained hope. Why? Because during the pandemic, it blew up. Why? Because people were still able to connect with each other, and it turned into this model that people could make money on and change their lives, literally change their lives. So on one end, you have all this despair and pain with the pandemic and then what's going on with politics and the violence and everything across the world and fake news and all of this stuff. Nobody knows what to believe. And then on this, so that could cause a lot of deferred hope, right? And despair. And then on this side with TikTok, you have people that can gain hope because they're beginning to see that the regular person can make money on there and change their lives. Not only that, but they can connect with other people and get real news in real time because it's being filmed right in front of their face. Now, obviously, there's a lot of drama that goes along with it, but they're willing to trade privacy to China in areas for that hope, right? And that is when you have something where hope is like rewarded, when someone's hope is rewarded, then that breeds loyalty. And then that makes them also not want to listen to anything the opposite side has to say. And here's what happens. So you got a lot of people that are on TikTok that are bracing for this ban, and they're telling the government, we don't care about the risk that you guys are telling us is happening by being on TikTok. And here's the reason why they don't care. Number one, because it is the same risk that they take on any app. I don't know if you know that. On any and every app, the exact same risk that the government is screaming about is taken when you download and accept any app. Go look at that's the truth. And so people, TikTok and the ability that it gave you, which we can correlate to also Trump and MAGA and all that, the hope that it gave people caused people to like now never want to ever listen to what the government or the establishment has to say anymore. And so here's what they're doing to thumb their noses at the establishment. They're going on another app that is actually completely owned by China. So not only are they saying, you know what, screw y'all, we're going to go even further. Since you want to take away something that gave us hope, this is at the visceral level, something that gave us hope, we're going to go further than what you are warning us against. Because people will go towards what makes them feel like they are seen, right? And so that is what's going on with, the Trump, what do you call it? The Trump, what would you say, atmosphere, right? Because people are reacting to the promise of hope. And boy, do we need it. But here's the problem with that. The problem with that is that when you put your hope in things that change, like we said earlier, then you set yourself up for failure because everything in this life changes. You can't put your total hope in the government because 4 or 8 years in this country of being ruled in your favor can be turned around very quickly when they don't rule in your favor. And then all of a sudden, the trust that you put in the government and the people in government, no matter which side you're on, will get dashed. And then all of a sudden, your life and how you see things is skewed. That's how come you see like a lot of people on the left, when their guy didn't win or their girl didn't win either time, you see that they have huge meltdowns. Huge meltdowns. You see them shaving. They were shaving their head. They were like screaming. They were doing some crazy stuff, and they were going nuts. They were like, because their hope was dashed, and their hope was in a party or a person. And there's a lot of people on the right that are the same way, and we can't be that way. The only hope that is going to last is when you put your hope in Jesus, and when you put your hope in God. Because when you put your hope in God, he is the only thing that never changes. He's the only thing that never moves, is God. And you can trust in what he says. The Bible says that we should put our hope in God, and that it's all over the Bible. It talks about having our hope in him. Why? Because he created things from the beginning. He's the Alpha and the Omega, we believe, as Christians. We know that he holds the world in the palm of his hand, and that his ultimate will is for our good. And he's known us since before we were in our mother's womb, and we can stand on him as a solid rock, right? The Bible also talks about what happens when we put our faith, when we stand on sinking sand, things that do not have surety about it, that can change with the seasons. And that's everything. That's anything and everything in this world can change with the seasons. And so I don't get like why we do that. Why we, put our faith in things that are movable. Why don't you put your faith in Jesus? Put your faith in God. Put your hope in him. Because at the end of the day, when anything terrible happens, or if anything bad does happen, your hope is not ultimately in that thing. If you lose something, your hope is not in that thing. Your hope is not in your spouse, ultimately. Your hope is not in your child or your job or your health or anything of that nature, or your talents. But your hope is in God. And at the end of the day, we believe that once we get out of here, the worst thing that can happen to us is that we get out of here, whichever way it happens. And then we are with him. That is called the hope of glory. And also, while we're on this earth, we have the hope that to know that he is watching over us and taking care of us. That doesn't mean that we get to escape calamity, but we know that out of everything, he is going to be with us through it and help us get through it. So the most dangerous thing is hope, and how you use it and what you place your hope in is going to determine how that dangerous thing is going to take care of you or destroy you. Don't put your hope in things that can move around. I'm glad for these confirmation hearings that are going on, where because of this hope, we've got new, fresh blood that we're willing to take a chance on. I'm glad that we have Trump back in office, going to be back in office, and has promised to do things, and he made promises the last time and kept them. So the hope is not put in something that is dumb to put in. But ultimately, my trust is not in him or anybody else. My trust is in God, and I advise you to do the same thing, man. Have your trust in God. And I can't speak that more strongly, because we don't want your heart to be sick, because you know what, like I said, on this side of things, we're glass half full, man. We look for the positive, and no matter what, the most positive thing you could think of when the worst thing is happening, even to those of you who are going through the fires and the tragic stuff you're going through, the people in Appalachia that are still going through it, put your hope in something that lasts, that doesn't pass away. The only thing that doesn't pass away that lasts is God, and he will help you through all that you go through and all that we go through.
That's fire.
All right, so we are at the second half of That's Fire podcast, and I thank you for hanging out with us. We was just talking about how, the most dangerous thing that we have to handle in life is hope. Depending on how you handle it, it also depends on where you go in life. And I think that concept is fire. And I want to talk to you guys out there who are creative, who are what we like to call around here the remnant, those who don't care about the world's accolades. You don't care about whether or not you get a Grammy this, a Grammy that. You're not really rocking with that. If it happens, it happens. But you really care about building the kingdom of God through your giftings and talents. And let me say something real quick. Those of you who are like that, who have a talent in some area, and by the way, everybody has one, in some area of life, but you want to be maximized and used by God in a way that is unique and impactful. We are here for you. This is what this podcast is about. I'm here to help you with this and sort of help you have a glass half full, that's fire sort of attitude so that you can accomplish those things. And I want to tell you that you can have hope because there is something that we don't think about a lot, and that is the fact that you have been given purpose. God has given you purpose since before you were born. There's a reason why you're able to do certain things that other people are not able to do. And guess what? It ain't so that you can get accolades in the world. That's not what it's for. Because I'm going to tell y'all something. And you can get mad at me. Somebody get mad at me, but guess what? God is not impressed with how good you could sing. God ain't impressed at how many runs you can do. He ain't impressed by that. He don't care about that. God don't care about or is not impressed by how beautifully you can paint something, or how wonderful of an actor you are, or how many times you can get on the bestsellers list. God is not impressed by none of that. Why? Because he is the author of all of it, and it was around, and he created it before. Listen, this is the person that created all the colors that you think of, that you can even think of, all the combinations you can think of. This is the one that created all the variety of animals and all the things that they do. This is the one that created the myriad and millions of different trees and sunsets and all of that. This is the one that created notes and sound waves and frequencies. And you think he's impressed by, how well you can sing? Nah, God's not impressed by that because he gave it to you in the first place. And I always tell people this. You have purpose, and it's not just like a nice little platitude that we say, oh, I want to find my purpose and live out my truth. No, that's not what this is. As a believer, you have a responsibility and a obligation to use your giftings, your talent, your creativity for what it was meant for. Like if this microphone in front of me, if I used it as a hammer, you would be like, what the heck are you doing, bro? That's not what it's meant for. It's meant for a lot more, right? And so your purpose is there on purpose. You weren't in your mother's womb filling out a application asking for the talents that you have. They were just given to you, right? I wasn't in my mom's womb talking about, okay, I want to be able to sing, which I can. I want to be able to rap, which I can. I want to be able to draw and paint. I want to be able to write. I want to be able to do all those things, all the things that God has gifted me to be able to do. I didn't ask for it. He just gave it to me. And I just discovered that it was there. And the same is with you. So if you didn't ask for it, you had no idea about it, God already gave it to you, ordained for you to be able to do it, then that means there's a reason, there's a purpose for your gifting. And I would encourage you to realize that you don't have permission to use your gifting and talent for your own good. You don't have permission for that. You don't have the open door to explore and express yourself for the sake of expressing yourself as a believer, as a Christian. That is not something that is available to us that we should even think, because guess what you're doing? When you approach your talent and gifting like that, then you are taking it control of your life. And you said as a Christian that you surrendered your life to God. And even if you're not a Christian, I would implore you to understand that your giftings come from somewhere outside of you. And that somewhere is a someone. And that someone is God. And then he gave it. And then when you realize that, then everything else that I just said applies. So you are not, free to use your things and your talents for your own good, or even for just the good of mankind. That's not what God gave it to you for. God gave it to you to bring glory to him through your talents, so that people would be drawn to him through you. And what a privilege that is. What an honor that is for God to use your songwriting, your ability to pluck a guitar really good, your ability to whatever it might be. And it could be other talents. Like you could be really good at electricity, at putting electricity. Don't try to put me to, I'll kill myself. You could be really good at sound engineering. You could be really good at, administration. That's a talent in and of itself. You have something in you that other people do not have. It doesn't have to be artistic. We're just happen to be talking about that, but you are not allowed to use your giftings and talents for your own good or your own advancement. You are called to use them to advance God's kingdom. It is like this. When you become a believer or realize that you are made in God's image and that you are mandated to represent him in the world, you, whether you know it or not, are put into an army. You're put into an army, and that army is an army of light, salt and light. You are an army meant to go out and not kill your enemy, but rescue your enemy, right? Your actual enemy is not even a human being. That's another podcast for another time. But you are meant to rescue those who are enemies of God. You're meant to go and rescue them from behind enemy lines, right? And the weapon that God gives you is your gifting and talent. That's the weapon he gives you to win the people that you're supposed to win through love, through loving God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength, and then loving your neighbor as yourself. And then your gifting facilitates that. What you're able to do better than other people facilitates that. So I just wanted to encourage you. Find out what it is that you do best that others can't do like you, what your talent is, what your gifting is, what you're creative at naturally, and understand that you have purpose. And like my pastor's been saying, we're on this journey talking about purpose, and we are in January right now. If you are listening to this at another time, we're in January, and we are going for it. And these are sacred days that we are dealing with in January to consecrate ourselves for the rest of the year. And tonight he was talking about purpose, and with purpose comes provision. And there are people that God will provide you with that will help you along in your purpose. And you are meant to provide what other people don't have. And it was fire. That's fire. Like I say, it was a fire sermon. But you are meant to use those giftings and be maximized by the kingdom with those giftings. Now, these podcasts, I urge you to go ahead and follow, like, subscribe, do all the things. We're on Apple Podcasts now. We're on Spotify and YouTube. Go ahead and follow us on those things, because we're going to be encouraging you and giving you words and practical tips as well on how to be maximized for the kingdom, and so that when God looks at you, he can go, yo, that's fire. You know what I mean? And you can be that glass half full for everybody, that your cup runneth over, you're positive, whatsoever things are good, lovely, and of good report, your life oozes that, and it attracts people to you, therefore attracting them to Jesus. Ultimately, that's what your purpose is. So go after your purpose, find out what that joint is, and it's multifaceted, but when you get on that journey, you're going to find out that God has greater purposes than you ever thought, greater than some Grammy, greater than a bestseller, on a New York Times bestseller, or greater than, selling out in an art gallery or whatever. What profit a man if he gains the world and loses his soul? Now, I will tell you a little side note that God will provide for you, and we ain't about being poor on this channel. No way, no how. The Bible does not support being poor equals piety. No. We believe that the Bible teaches that, a workman is worthy of his wages, and that you don't muzzle the ox when he's treading out the grain, that we are for profit when it comes to that. So, and why? So I can build my own kingdom? Heck no. It's so that I can have more resources to be a greater effect on the world. That's part of our purpose. So be dangerous and have hope in God, but don't have hope in anything else, because it's fading and flying away. And understand that as a Christian creative remnant, you have purpose. I'm glad that you stuck around for the whole podcast. Make sure you comment, give us a thumbs up, 5 stars, whatever it is. Follow, like, share, if this encouraged you at all. I want to tell you that when God looks at you, he goes, "That's fire." Stick around for the next episode. We'll see y'all then.